The revolutionary power of softness, how Black women are redefining strength in a world that demands too much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Therethia Packer, a visionary whose work has been transforming how young Black women navigate their journey into womanhood. Therethia isn't just a thought leader, she's a cultural revolutionary whose insights have liberated countless women from a prison of impossible expectations. Her commitment to creating spaces where Black women can embrace their authentic selves while rejecting burnout culture has sparked a movement that is literally saving lives. Today, I'm honored to share what I've learned from Therethia and the powerful movement she represents. We live in a world that has very specific ideas about strength. And for Black women, these ideas have been particularly restrictive, particularly damaging. For generations, we've been told that strength means endurance, that it means silence in the face of suffering, that it means carrying everyone else's burdens while neglecting our own. But what if everything we've been taught about strength is wrong? What if true strength isn't about how much weight you can carry, but about knowing when to put that weight down? This is the radical proposition at the heart of what's being called the soft girl era, a movement that's fundamentally changing how Black women relate to themselves and the world around them. Now, when most people hear the term soft, they immediately think weak. Our culture has conditioned us to view softness as a liability, particularly for Black women who have historically been denied the luxury of vulnerability. But this movement isn't about weakness, it's about reclamation, it's about power, it's about freedom. The concept of embracing softness is revolutionary for many Black women who have been conditioned to adopt a strong Black woman persona. This movement encourages letting go of stereotypes that have been placed on us and embracing vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness. It's about creating space for Black women to prioritize self care without guilt. Consider for a moment what happens when we perpetually operate from a place of hardness. Our bodies tense, our minds race, our spirits diminish. We become disconnected from ourselves and others. We survive, yes, but at what cost? The cost is immense, and it's a cost that Black women have been paying for far too long. Let me tell you about Sabrina, a podcast host who grew up in challenging circumstances. Sabrina created the Hood Soft Life podcast specifically to document her transition from survival mode to intentional living. Growing up, immediate survival often took precedence over long term well being or self care. Every day was about making it to the next day, not thriving or finding joy. The mindset and habits developed in such environments become embedded in your very being. They follow you even after you physically escape those spaces. They whisper, "You don't deserve rest. You must always be prepared for the worst. Comfort is dangerous." Through her podcast, Sabrina shares deeply personal stories about unlearning these beliefs. She talks about the first time she allowed herself to sleep in without guilt, about learning to enjoy a meal without rushing, about the radical act of buying herself flowers, not for a special occasion, but simply because she deserved beauty in her life. What makes Sabrina's work so powerful is that she's built a community around her podcast where listeners recognize themselves in her stories. They see that embracing softness doesn't mean rejecting their background, but rather integrating all aspects of their identity. They learn that the resilience they developed is valuable, but the belief that constant struggle is necessary is not. Sabrina's journey involves recognizing which survival mechanisms served her and which now limit her growth. She's providing a blueprint for other young Black women from similar backgrounds to envision possibilities beyond survival mode. Her story illustrates a fundamental truth that Therethia emphasized in our conversation. Transitioning from survival mode to intentional living is not just possible, it's essential. Many young Black women grow up in environments where survival is the priority. The soft life movement encourages the shift from merely surviving to intentionally creating a life that feels good. This involves examining inherited beliefs about success, work ethic, and worthiness, then consciously choosing which to keep and which to release. But this transition isn't just about individual choices. It's about confronting systems that have profited from our perpetual state of struggle. Tina G. and Fancy R. Lee, hosts of the Breaking Black podcast, dedicated an entire episode to discussing what it means to plan for and live a soft life as Black women. Their conversation revealed how Black women face double standards when attempting to prioritize self care in a society that expects them to be perpetually strong and resilient. They shared stories of being labeled difficult or unprofessional for setting the same boundaries their white colleagues set without question. They talked about the guilt they felt when first prioritizing their well being, as if rest was something they needed to earn rather than a fundamental human need. Through their podcast, they created space for nuanced conversation about how Black women can begin plans for a life that includes rest, joy, and self nurturing despite these external pressures. Their conversation helped normalize the desire for softness among their listeners while providing practical considerations for those wanting to make this transition. Both hosts have navigated professional spaces where Black women are often expected to work harder for the same recognition, leading to burnout and disconnection from self. Their work contributes to a growing movement of Black women publicly rejecting burnout culture and embracing more sustainable approaches to success and fulfillment. Now, I want to be clear about something. Embracing softness doesn't mean abandoning ambition or accepting mediocrity. It doesn't mean shrinking yourself or your goals. In fact, it means exactly the opposite. When we release the exhausting performance of perpetual strength, we free up enormous amounts of energy that can be redirected toward what truly matters to us, energy that can fuel authentic ambition rather than prescribed expectations. As Therethia so eloquently put it during our interview, self love must precede external relationships. A fundamental aspect of navigating womanhood is understanding that pouring love into yourself leads to more fulfilling relationships with others. The journey of a young Black girl growing into a woman requires healing personal wounds before seeking external validation. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships to every connection we form with friends, family, colleagues, and communities. When we prioritize our own well being, we show up more fully in all our relationships. We set healthier boundaries. We communicate more clearly. We love more authentically. The AIDS Outreach Center recognized this need for holistic approaches to Black women's well being. They created a podcast specifically addressing the experiences of Black women, including discussions about the soft girl era and its implications. Their Hey Sis, Let's Talk podcast tackles the complex intersection of health, identity, and societal expectations placed on Black women. What makes their work particularly important is that they're addressing topics that are often considered taboo in our communities. They're creating a space where young Black women can access information about sexual health, mental well being, and identity formation without judgment. They're showing that all aspects of our health are interconnected, that you cannot separate physical well being from emotional well being, or emotional well being from how we form our identities. By normalizing these conversations alongside discussions of the soft girl era, this podcast helps young Black women see the connection between physical well being and identity formation. This holistic approach reflects Therethia's emphasis on the interconnectedness of all aspects of our being. So, what does all of this mean for you? What does it mean for us collectively? It means we have a choice. We can continue perpetuating narratives that equate Black womanhood with struggle and sacrifice, or we can pioneer new ways of being that honor our humanity in its fullness. It means questioning inherited beliefs about strength, success, and worthiness that no longer serve us. It means examining which aspects of our conditioning have been protective and which have been limiting. It means recognizing that softness, true, intentional softness, is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's a birthright that has been systematically denied to Black women for generations. And it's time we reclaimed it. As Therethia shared in our conversation, embracing your softness doesn't diminish your power, it transforms it into something sustainable. This transformation isn't just personal, it's political. When Black women collectively reject narratives that benefit from our exploitation and exhaustion, we create ripples that extend far beyond our individual lives. We model new possibilities for younger generations. We challenge systems that profit from our perpetual struggle. We create communities where vulnerability is valued rather than penalized. I stand before you today not just as a speaker, but as a witness to the power of this movement. I've seen women transform their lives by simply giving themselves permission to rest. I've watched as they've reclaimed their time, their joy, their very breath, and in doing so, discovered reservoirs of power they never knew they possessed. I challenge you today to examine the armor you've been carrying. What pieces no longer serve you? What weight could you set down? What softness have you denied yourself out of fear or obligation or habit? This isn't just about self care in the commercialized sense. This is about radical self preservation in a world that has often demanded Black women sacrifice themselves on the altar of everyone else's needs. Your softness is revolutionary. Your rest is resistance. Your joy is an act of defiance against the system that never intended for you to thrive. So take up space, lower your voice when you want to, not because you should, say no without explanation, rest without justification, love yourself fiercely and unapologetically. Because when Black women reclaim their right to be soft, they don't become less powerful, they become unstoppable. Thank you.